Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're joining us now, you're probably like, well, a lot of people out there. Statistically, something like 53% of us started the year thinking about financial resolutions, freedom, security, the usual goals.
Right, the classic New Year's push.
But here's the thing, the stark truth, really. Resolutions. They're kind of useless without the basic knowledge, right?
Absolutely. It falls apart quickly.
So today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We want to really prove why the single most expensive thing you'll ever pay for is the information you don't have. It's ignorance, basically.
Yeah.
The cost is huge.
That financial ignorance, it's a massive wall. And it's often built on, well, myths. I talk to teams sometimes, maybe 30 professionals in a room.
Okay.
And almost none of them have had a real basic tactical chat about how you actually invest, like the nuts and bolts.
Wow, even professionals.
Yeah. They have this idea that investing is only for, millionaires over 40, or the only thing you can invest in is buying a house.
Right, the house myth.
Exactly. And these assumptions just keep people stuck on the sidelines, paralyzed by how complex it all seems, and, frankly, by fear.
And that paralysis, that's exactly what we're here to break down today.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission, it's pretty laser focused.
Good.
We want to give you the key, really basic steps. Steps that if you execute them, like with ruthless consistency.
Consistency is key.
They'll put you into the top 5% of investors.
Yeah.
Globally. This isn't some get-rich-quick thing. Not at all.
No, definitely not.
It's about building the financial architecture, the foundation, so that you genuinely never have to worry about money again. It means learning just a few core rules.
Just a few.
And then applying them.
For decades.
For decades. That's the hard part. So to start that journey, we really have to begin with the single most powerful idea in building wealth. It's often overlooked because it sounds so boring, so unsexy.
Okay.
It's the power of compounding, combined with endurance. That's the unsexy superpower. Okay, compounding and endurance. Let's unpack this, because everyone hears market buzzwords, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's the actual historical reality? What returns can people really expect?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're building a plan for 30, 40 years, we need a solid baseline.
Right. We need to look at the data. Specifically, let's take the American stock market. It's the most mature, the most studied over, say, the last 100 years.
Okay.
The raw returns, they tend to average around 10 to 11% per year, historically.
10 to 11. Okay, that sounds pretty good.
It does, but, and this is crucial, you always have to account for inflation. Inflation silently eats away your buying power.
Ah, right. The hidden tax.
Exactly. So once you factor inflation in, a responsible, maybe even conservative investor should plan on expecting something like 7 to 8% per year. That's our stable, dependable number.
7%. Okay, I gotta say, that sounds maybe a little anticlimactic. It doesn't exactly scream multi-millionaire,
I know, it doesn't have that sizzle. But that's precisely where the time element, the endurance, kicks in. The genius of this whole strategy is actually its dullness, its predictability.
It's dullness. So.
Yeah. And we can literally prove this right now. Let's walk through a compound interest calculator. And I really encourage everyone listening, open one up in your browser, look up MoneyChimp or any decent calculator. It's eye-opening.
All right, let's do it. Run the scenario. We'll use that super conservative 7% annual return you mentioned.
Yep, 7%. That way we're building on a safe foundation. If the market gives us 10%, great, that's bonus. But we plan for 7%.
Okay. The setup. Let's say someone starts with a $5,000 principal, maybe savings from a job or a gift, whatever.
Yeah, $5,000 to start.
And then the annual addition. Let's do it modest.
Yeah.
$5,000 per year. That's about, what, $416 a month?
Roughly, yeah. $416 a month.
For a lot of working people, $416 a month. It's tough, but doable if you really control the spending.
Agreed. It's achievable for many if they prioritize it.
Yeah.
Okay, so $5K start, $5K added yearly, 7% return. Let's hit the first checkpoint. Let's call it the short-term check.
Okay.
Imagine you start this at, say, age 16, maybe a first job, and you invest for 14 years. That takes you to age 30. Still just putting in $5,000 annually. What's the result?
Okay, 14 years in. You started with $5,000. You added $5,000 times 14 years, so that's $70,000 you put in. Plus the initial $5K, so $75K total invested. The calculator says $133,537.
$133,537. So 6 figures by age 30. That's a strong start, right?
Yeah, definitely a good start.
But notice the breakdown. You put in $75,000 of your own money. Compounding added almost $60,000. It's helping, definitely. But it's still, early days. The growth hasn't gone crazy.
Right, it's not exponential yet.
Not yet. Now watch what happens when we just, we maximize that endurance factor. This shows the huge difference between starting early versus starting late. Let's just extend the timeline. From 14 years to 24 years takes the investor to age 40, still only investing $5,000 a year.
Okay, same $5 a year, just 10 more years of patience. Age 40, what happens?
The account balance suddenly jumps. It's now $336,000.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
From $133K to $336K in 10 years.
Yeah. See how the growth is accelerating? It added way more in that second decade than the first.
The power curve is definitely steepening. So what if we keep going, say, to age 50? That's 34 years of investing that same $5K a year.
34 years in, that modest $5,000 annual addition gets you to $736,000.
Whoa, nearly $750,000. I'm just 400-ish a month. That's starting to feel significant.
It is. But let's get really realistic for the long term, because your income usually goes up over a career, right?
Relatively, yeah.
So let's run a long-term projection. Let's stretch the time out to 49 years. Assume someone starts at 16 and retires at 65.
Okay, 49 years, long haul.
And critically, let's acknowledge income growth. You probably won't only invest $5,000 a year forever. So let's adjust the average annual investment over those 49 years. Let's make it a more reasonable $30,000 average per year.
$30,000 average. Okay, that reflects maybe lower contributions early on, but much higher ones later in life. That's about $2,500 a month average over the whole career. Seems plausible.
Right. It accounts for career progression. So $5,000 starting principal, $30,000 average annual addition, 49 years, still at that conservative 7% return. What's the final number?
Okay, crunching those numbers. 49 years, $12.3 million.
$12.3 million.
Just, wow. And what if they actually got 8%? You said 7-8% was reasonable.
Good point. Let's just nudge it up to 8%, still historically normal. That $12.3 million jumps to $17.4 million.
$17.4 million from being consistent and patient.
This right here, this mathematical reality, it leads to the absolute core insight of this whole strategy. Do not chase higher returns.
Don't try to get 13% or 20%.
No, don't try day trading. Don't gamble on risky microcaps, because you'll inevitably hit bumps, maybe wipe out early gains. Stick rigidly to the safe, stable returns, like 7%. The variable you must maximize isn't the return percentage, it's time.
Time is the multiplier.
It's the exponent. The true formula is returns to the power of time, endurance. That's the lever you pull hardest.
It's like this invisible force that suddenly becomes, well, undeniable over decades.
Yeah.
And nobody really embodies that endurance better than Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah.
We always hear about his investing genius, but the stat is crazy.
It's unbelievable. 99% of his massive net worth was accumulated after his 60th birthday.
After 60.
Think about that.
Think about that curve we just saw.
Yeah.
At age 60, I mean, he was already a huge success, right? Worth maybe $3 billion or so.
Yeah, hardly struggling.
Not at all. But because he kept playing the game, kept his capital compounding, he went from $3 billion to over $100 billion. The numbers just get crazier and crazier the longer you hold.
So his secret wasn't some magic stock-picking formula each year.
His secret wasn't maximizing his annual return. His secret was being a good investor for 80 years. If he'd retired just 10 years earlier, his legacy, his wealth would be dramatically smaller. It's all about the time in the market. That endurance principle is just perfectly shown by that story of the janitor, Ronald James Reed.
Oh, this is maybe the greatest finance case study ever, because it completely demolishes the myth that you need like an Ivy League degree or complex strategies.
Yeah.
Ronald James Reed. He mopped floors, worked at a gas station, was a janitor in Vermont. Ordinary guy. When he died in 2014, age 92, his net worth was over $8 million.
$8 million. As a janitor,
Yeah.
how did he do it?
He saved small amounts consistently, whatever little bit he could scrape together.
Okay.
And he put it into simple, recognizable stocks, blue chips, maybe some index funds later on. But here's the absolute key.
He just left it alone.
He left it completely alone. For 70 years, he never fiddled with it, never sold when the market crashed, never panicked during recessions. He just let it cook.
Wow. Let it cook for 70 years.
It proves, like beyond any doubt, that endurance beats genius stock picking every single time. If you can just maintain that endurance, stay invested, you will likely outperform 97, maybe 99% of professional fund managers who spend their entire lives trying to beat that 10% benchmark and usually fail.
Okay, so the foundation is crystal clear. Be patient, maximize time, expect maybe 7-8% after inflation. Now, let's get tactical. If someone listening is bought in, they get the concept, what's the very first practical step they take tomorrow morning? Where do they actually put the money?
Okay, the simplest, most effective starting point, especially for beginners, it's the target date fund, often called a TDF.
Target date fund.
This is what I recommend to friends, family, anyone who just wants to bypass all the complexity and get started safely.
Okay, what exactly is a target date fund? Why is it the ultimate simple start?
It's basically one single fund. That's it. You choose the fund based on the year you think you'll retire your target date.
So if I'm 25 now, planning to retire around 2065.
You'd pick something like the Vanguard Target Retirement 2065 Fund or Fidelity Freedom 2065, whatever year fits. The beauty, the genius of the TDF is all you do is put money into that one fund and you're done.
Done. What does it do automatically?
It automatically handles two critical things. First, immediate diversification.
So I don't need to buy like 20 different stocks myself. Apple, Tesla, some bonds.
Absolutely not. That's the path to complexity, confusion, and usually messing it up. A fund is just a basket. It holds hundreds, sometimes thousands of stocks and bonds all at once.
Okay.
So you're instantly diversified across the whole market or large parts of it. Second, it handles automatic risk adjustment.
What does that mean, risk adjustment?
As you get older, closer to your target retirement date, the fund automatically gradually shifts its holdings. It becomes more conservative. It sells some stocks and buys more bonds and cash.
Oh, I see. Because a 60-year-old shouldn't be taking the same risks as a 25-year-old.
Precisely. It manages that glide path for you. It removes the need for you to actively rebalance or figure out your risk tolerance year after year. It just does it.
That sounds almost too simple. Is there a catch? Are the fees high?
That's the beauty of modern finance, especially with the big players. You need to look for a low-cost brokerage firm.
Okay, who are the main ones?
In the U.S., you've got Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity. They're all excellent, known for low costs. In the U.K., maybe Hargreaves, Lansdowne, or similar platforms. The key is finding a provider that offers these target date funds with very low expense ratios, the annual fee.
Low cost, maximum reliability.
Got it. Now, let's talk about something you touched on, the fiddling temptation. The apps today, they make investing look like a game. Very social, lots of notifications. When I started, the platform was clunky and ugly, which was probably a good thing.
It absolutely was a good thing. That gamification, that's the trader trap. You have to consciously, actively avoid becoming a trader.
Why is being a trader bad? Traders feel compelled to click, to check constantly, to trade based on news or notifications or what their friends are doing. It's driven by dopamine hits. All that activity, it mainly generates fees for the brokerage. And statistically, most traders lose money. They buy high out of FOMO, sell low out of panic. It's the opposite of endurance.
So you want investing to feel boring.
Painfully boring. Like watching paint dry, that's how you know you're doing it right as an investor.
Okay. Watching paint dry.
Your excitement should come from life, from hobbies, work, family, whatever, not from your investment account statement. If your account is constantly exciting, it usually means something bad is happening, or you're taking way too much risk.
Okay, so if it's boring and we shouldn't trade, how often should we actually check it? I'm guessing having the app pinging me on my phone is a bad idea.
Terrible idea. Absolutely delete the app from your phone, or at least turn off all notifications.
Okay.
How often to check? Maybe every 3 months, maybe every 6 months. And ideally, log in on a desktop computer, not your phone.
Why desktop?
It's less accessible, less tempting to fiddle. You log in, you look at the number, you confirm the automatic contribution is still happening, and you log out. That's it. You are not tweaking anything. You're not trying to time the market. You're not rebalancing every week.
I like the Thanksgiving turkey analogy for this.
It's perfect. Once the turkey's in the oven, what do?
You leave it alone. Let it cook.
Exactly. You don't open the oven door every 15 minutes to poke it. You'll lose heat, slow down the cooking, mess the whole thing up. This investment, it's a turkey that needs to cook for decades. The less you touch it, the better the final result.
Okay, that makes total sense. And this whole philosophy, this leave it alone idea, it brings us straight to the most vital part of making endurance actually work. Automation. If we're not supposed to be checking it or thinking about it daily, we need a system to make sure the money actually gets in there without us doing anything.
Automation is the absolute cornerstone of consistency. It's non-negotiable. After you open that brokerage account and make your first investment, the very next step, the mandatory step, is setting up an automatic monthly transfer.
From checking account to investment account.
Yep. A suggested starting point. Aim for 5% to 10% of your take-home pay. Just start there. Even if 5% sounds impossible right now, I guarantee if you actually track your spending, you'll find that 5% hiding in stuff you don't really need.
Oh, goal isn't just saving, it's making investing completely subconscious.
It needs to become easier than brushing your teeth. You don't try to remember to brush your teeth, do you? It just happens.
Right, it's habit.
The investment transfer should be the same. The money gets pulled automatically every month. You'll log in 6 months later and think, wow, I didn't even notice all that money building up. That consistency happening whether the market is up or down, plus compounding over time, that's the engine of real wealth.
I remember talking to someone once who made this exact mistake early on. Set up the account, started contributing. Then 2 months later, pulled the money out to pay off a credit card bill.
Oof. Yeah, that's a critical mental error.
They were treating the investment account like just another savings account, like an emergency fund.
You absolutely cannot do that. You need a complete mental shift. Investment accounts are for one thing and one thing only: accumulating wealth over the long term. They are not for drawing money out to pay current bills. That's what your checking account is for. And emergencies. That's what a separate emergency savings account is for.
So their account structure was wrong, and their mindset about the account's purpose was wrong. The money was too easy to grab, and they hadn't prioritized accumulation.
Exactly. The temptation was too high because the system wasn't set up right, which leads to the ideal automated setup.
Okay, how do we structure the whole system then to enforce that discipline and avoid temptation?
You automate your entire personal finance flow. It's basically a 4-step waterfall.
Okay, step 1.
1. Your paycheck hits your main checking account.
Standard 2.
Immediately, automatic transfers go out from checking to specific sub-savings accounts. These are for shorter-term goals, your emergency fund, maybe a vacation fund, a car down payment fund. You label them.
Okay, slice off the savings first.
Yep. 3. Also immediately, another automatic transfer goes from checking straight into your investment account, your target date fund, or whatever you chose. This money is now basically untouchable. It's in the oven, cooking for decades.
Got it. Savings, then investing, both automatic.
Right. And 4, what's left in your checking account after those transfers? That's your guilt-free spending money for the month. You know your savings and investing are handled. And ideally, you also automate paying your credit card bill in full every month from that checking account. No carrying balances.
That initial setup, figuring out the percentages, setting up the transfers, that might take, what, an afternoon?
Maybe a couple of hours, yeah. But once those automatic transfers are scheduled, you literally never have to actively think about moving money for saving or investing again. The system enforces the discipline for you. It removes your emotions, your forgetfulness, your weak moments from the equation.
You make the smart decision once, then let the system run the marathon.
That's exactly it. That is precisely how the consistent, endurance-focused, frankly middle-class investor builds serious, life-changing wealth over time.
Okay, so that's the path for the consistent accumulator. But you mentioned earlier there are these other rooms, different games being played, where super owners operate, structuring deals using leverage. This brings us back to that idea of ignorance being the biggest cost.
Yeah, the cost of ignorance, the cost of not even knowing that these higher stakes money games exist. The analogy I keep coming back to is that car valuation story.
The old car.
Right. Yeah, the father gives his son this beat up old car. The son takes it to the local used car dealer. They offer him like $1,000. Takes it to a scrapyard. They offer $500. Finally, on a whim, takes it to an antique car club or dealer, and they value it at $100,000 because it turns out it's some super rare historic model.
Ah, so the asset was the same, but its value depended entirely on who was valuing it.
Exactly. The lesson is huge. The value of the asset, or in our context, the value of your skills is totally dependent on the person or the system you present it to. You have to take your skills to where the whales swim, where the big fish play. The work might be similar, but the outcome can have way more zeros at the end if you're in the right room.
You have to get into the right room. That's lifting the curtain, isn't it? I remember hearing someone successful talk about that, realizing there was this whole world of deal-making they never knew existed.
Right, and they get kind of furious. Like, why didn't anyone tell me these were the rules? And then maybe they find another door behind that room where the real billionaires are, just chilling, because they've completely maxed out their leverage.
Okay, leverage. That's the key concept here. How do people, like, say, investor Naval Ravikant, define leverage? What does it actually mean?
Leverage, in its simplest form, is just the difference between your input and your output.
Input versus output. Okay.
If you put in a ton of time, a ton of effort, input, and you get very little money or impact output, you have low leverage. You're like a workhorse. The goal of the super owner is to understand and stack different types of leverage to massively amplify their output relative to their input.
Okay, what are these different types? You mentioned stair steps.
Yeah, there are basically four main kinds, moving from basic to more powerful. First is labor leverage. This is the oldest form.
Managing people.
Essentially, yeah. It's the progression. Working for someone else, you have almost no leverage. Then working for yourself, you control your time, slight leverage. Then the big jump. Having other people work for you, business owner. Each step multiplies the effect of your own time.
Okay, labor leverage. What's next? Moving beyond just using people's time.
Then you get into things with real scale. Second is media leverage. This is about creating something once content, basically.
Like a book, a podcast, software?
Exactly. A book, a podcast episode like this, an online course, a software license. You create it once, but you can sell or license it infinitely. The cost to produce one more copy is near zero. Your output isn't tied to your hours anymore.
That explains the huge push towards digital content, platforms, creators.
Totally. That's media leverage at scale.
Yeah.
Third type, the one people often think of when they hear rich, is capital leverage.
Using money to make money.
Yep. Your money goes out and works for you, makes more money without you trading your time. That investment account we talked about, that's capital leverage starting to work. It goes out and kills for you while you sleep.
Okay. Labor, media, capital. What's the fourth?
The fourth, and arguably the most powerful today, is technology or code leverage. Building a piece of software, an algorithm, an automated system once.
And millions or billions can use it.
Right. Think Google search. Think Amazon's e-commerce platform or AWS infrastructure. Built once, used by billions. The leverage is astronomical. And the really powerful modern companies, Amazon, Facebook, Google, they didn't just use one type. They stacked all of them. Labor, media, capital, and code all working together.
Okay, so understanding leverage is key. But how does someone listening take their current skill set and figure out where to apply it to get the most leverage? How do you find those high-value opportunities?
Great question. We use something I call the whiteboard exercise. It's simple but powerful.
Okay, whiteboard exercise. How's it work?
On one side of the whiteboard, you just list your foundational skills. Be honest, I'm a good writer, I understand biology, I can manage projects, I'm good at sales, whatever they are.
Right, list the skills.
On the other side, you brainstorm potential money applications for those skills. Where could these skills solve a problem? And the formula for finding the high money potential is always this: size of the problem multiplied by the value of the solution.
Size of the problem times value of the solution. Okay, let's use an example. Say someone's skill is writing. I'm a precise writer. I can explain complex things clearly.
Okay, good skill. What's the worst possible application for that skill, financially?
Low leverage, small problem, low value solution.
Right. It's tying yourself to a low margin sector, writing for the local newspaper maybe for $14 an hour, or writing, I don't know, niche poetry that's incredibly hard to sell. The leverage is low. The problem being solved is small in market terms.
Okay, that's the bottom. What's the highest paying application for that exact same writing skill set? Where's the leverage?
You have to avoid those low-margin industries like basic trades, services, or local media. You absolutely must target high-profit margin industries. Where are the huge problems that need valuable solutions?
Biotech, finance.
Exactly. Think about biotech or pharmaceuticals. These companies operate on massive profit margins, sometimes 50, 80%. They deal with regulations, clinical trials, investor communications. These are multi-million-dollar problems. So, if you take your writing skill and specialize, become a medical writer who understands FDA regulations, or a financial writer who can craft clear investor updates for a fund, the value of your solutions skyrockets.
Same core skill writing, but applied to a massive problem in a high-margin industry.
Precisely. That writer goes from maybe $35,000 a year as a general copywriter to potentially $150,000, $200,000, plus as a specialist medical or financial writer. It's all about the context, not just the action.
Which leads perfectly into the super owner strategy. It's not just about where you apply your skills, but how you structure the deal. Negotiating the structure, not just a flat salary.
Correct. The super owner mindset doesn't just accept the standard offer, the floor. Instead of just taking that, say, $35K salary for the copywriter job, you change the game in the negotiation.
How quintal? What do you ask for?
You might negotiate a small base salary, maybe just $10,000, enough to cover absolute basics. But then you ask for upside, a percentage of the results you generate.
Okay, give me the tactical wording. How would you phrase that?
You could say something like, look, I believe my work should directly contribute to revenue. Let's set a baseline, say, the current $100,000 a month revenue. I want my small base plus 10% of every dollar of revenue my marketing drives above that $100K benchmark.
Ah, so you tie your compensation directly to the value you create beyond a certain point. Your upside is uncapped.
Exactly. You've shifted from being just an employee, an expense line item, to being an internal owner who shares in the success. This is how I've seen early sales VPs or marketing leads make millions in commissions or bonuses. They structured the deal for upside.
I can personally vouch for that. When I first got into the biotech world, I didn't push for the highest salary.
Right.
I focused on getting equity, stock options.
Smart move. Capital leverage.
Yeah. I only did about 6 months of actual marketing work for this one company.
Right.
But years later, they IPO'd at over $3 billion, my options. The net return was close to $10 million.
Wow. See?
It was purely because I understood enough to negotiate for a piece of the upside, the equity. Learning how to structure a deal like that, it's incredibly valuable.
It might be the most valuable skill set in the modern economy. You saw a chance to apply your labor and maybe media leverage, and you traded some immediate cash for significant capital leverage, the equity. This kind of knowledge used to be totally hidden, gate-kept. But now, the blueprints are out there if you look.
And those visible blueprints lead us right into the final, most exclusive room where the ultra-wealthy play, mastering the tax game. This feels like the ultimate curtain lift. And we need to be crystal clear here. We're talking about legal tax avoidance, which is totally different from illegal tax evasion.
That distinction is absolutely critical, paramount. You have to view legal tax avoidance not just as a strategy, but almost as an obligation when you're building significant wealth.
An obligation.
Yeah, think about it. If you're a CEO or a founder, you arguably have a fiduciary duty to your shareholders to operate efficiently, and that includes minimizing the tax burden legally. Just like Apple sets up Apple International Licensing in Ireland or somewhere.
To license its intellectual property back to itself and shift profits to lower tax jurisdictions.
Exactly. Corporations do it. Owners do it. It's part of the game at that level. The fundamental goal for an individual is to shift how the government sees you. You want to stop being primarily a super earner and become a super owner.
Super earner versus super owner. What's the difference in tax terms?
It's massive. Super earners think top surgeons, partners at big law firms, high-paid tech executives getting huge salaries and bonuses. They pay the absolute highest tax rates, often 45%, 50%, even 52% or more when you add state and local taxes. Why? Because their income is current, earned income, W-2 salary. They're the workhorses funding the system.
Okay, they earn a lot, they pay a lot.
But super owners, people who make most of their money from capital, from buying and selling assets, stocks, businesses, real estate, or even better, from borrowing against those assets, their effective tax rate plummets. Studies of the top 25 wealthiest Americans showed they often pay effective tax rates in the single digits, sometimes near zero in certain years.
Single digits? How? How's that even possible? What are these strategies the super rich use?
Okay, the absolute cornerstone strategy, the most famous one, is often called the buy, borrow, die strategy.
Buy, borrow, die. Okay, I love the name. Walk me through how it works.
All right. Step 1, buy. You buy an appreciating asset, let's say $100 worth of Amazon stock or shares in a private company or a piece of real estate.
Okay, buy something that grows.
Step 2, borrow. As that asset grows over years, maybe decades, let's say your $100 in Amazon grows to $1,000. Instead of selling it, because selling triggers capital gains tax, you go to a bank and borrow against the value of that appreciated stock.
Okay, take a loan using the stock as collateral.
Exactly. Maybe you borrow $300 or $400 against your $1,000 in stock. And here's the crucial part. That loan you receive, it's tax-free.
Why is the loan tax-free?
Because debt is not income. The IRS doesn't tax you on money you borrow. So you get hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, in cash, tax-free, to live on to fund your lifestyle. You pay low interest on the loan, maybe deductible, while the original asset, the stock, hopefully keeps appreciating.
Wait, okay. So the loan cash is tax-free because it's debt. And the growth in the stock value is tax-deferred because you haven't sold it.
You got it. But here's the final step, the cheat code that makes it unbeatable. Step 3. Die.
Yep.
When the super owner eventually passes away, their heirs inherit that appreciated asset, the $1,000 worth of Amazon stock in our example, but they inherit it with something called a step-up in basis.
Step-up in basis. What's that?
It means the cost, for tax purposes for the heirs, is reset to the market value at the time of death. So the heirs inherit the stock valued at $1,000, not the original $100 purchase price. All those decades of capital gains, that $900 increase, it's completely, totally wiped out, forgiven. vanished.
You're kidding. The heirs can then sell that $1,000 stock immediately.
And pay zero capital gains tax on all that growth that happened during the original owner's lifetime. The loan might be paid off by a small part of the estate, or the heirs just continue the strategy. It's a way to pass on wealth almost entirely tax-free on the appreciation.
That is genuinely shocking. No tax paid on the growth by the borrower, no tax paid by the heir. It's a complete bypass.
It's the ultimate advantage of being an owner, holding assets long-term, and using leverage through debt instead of selling. Now, another big strategy you hear about is state arbitrage.
State arbitrage. Sounds like moving around for tax reasons.
That's exactly what it is,
Yeah.
purely tactical. High net worth individuals, especially when they're about to have a massive capital gains event selling a business, exercising huge stock options will often legally change their primary residence
So where?
to a state with zero state income tax. Think Florida, Texas, Nevada, Washington, a few others. If you're about to realize, say, $100 million in capital gains from selling your company, and moving from California, maybe 13% state tax, to Florida, 0% state tax, saves you $13 million.
That's a $13 million instant saving just for changing your address legally for a year or two around the transaction.
It's a massive business decision disguised as a lifestyle choice. We saw Jeff Bezos do this recently, moving from Washington to Florida. Saves potentially billions on future Amazon stock sales.
Okay, buy, borrow, die.
Yeah.
State arbitrage. What else? You mentioned something specific for founders, QSBS.
Ah, yes. Qualified Small Business Stock, QSBS. Section 1202 of the tax code. This is a huge incentive designed to encourage investment in small, innovative U.S. companies.
How does it work?
If you invest in a qualifying U.S.C. corporation when its assets are worth less than $50 million,
Okay, early stage.
and you hold that stock for more than 5 years,
5 years of endurance again.
then when you sell that stock, the first $10 million of your capital gain is completely tax-free, federally. Or, if it's a larger gain, it can be up to 10 times your original investment basis tax-free.
$10 million or more, completely tax-free. Just for picking the right type of company structure, C Corp, investing early and holding for 5 years.
Yep. Imagine a founder whose initial stock is worth pennies. The company sells for $100 million years later. Their first $10 million plus of gain could be entirely federal tax-free. It's an incredible benefit. It shows you how the tax code, which started maybe 400 pages, has ballooned to thousands and thousands of pages.
And that complexity isn't really for the average W-2 employee.
No way. That extra complexity is largely designed to provide mechanisms, loopholes, if you will, for owners of businesses, owners of capital to shelter income, leverage assets, and legally avoid taxes on their accumulated wealth.
The difference in outcome based purely on having good tax advice versus bad tax advice or no advice.
Yeah.
It must be staggering. Literally the difference between going broke and being a multimillionaire or billionaire.
It's night and day, absolutely astronomical variance. This is why when the stakes get high enough, people willingly pay specialized tax attorneys or accountants $1,000, $1,500, even $1,800 an hour or more. Because the ROI on that advice can be millions or tens of millions.
So you need professional advice for this stuff.
You absolutely cannot navigate this complex system effectively on your own once you have real assets. But the key lesson for someone young, just starting out, focus on becoming an owner first. Build that capital army, maybe through simple index funds like we discussed. Accumulate first. Then, once you have significant capital working for you, then you shift focus and hire the experts to help you become a super tax avoider. Owner first, tax optimization second.
Okay, so let's talk about the simple capital allocation strategy for that aspiring owner. We established complexity is bad early on. How simple should it be?
Keep it painfully, boringly simple, especially starting out. My own personal net worth, honestly. It's allocated across maybe 3 or 4 main buckets.
Okay, what are they?
Some cash for liquidity, emergencies, opportunities. A primary residence, which I view mainly as a lifestyle choice, not a primary investment. The vast majority in low-cost index funds, that's the engine. And then, maybe, if applicable to your career, specific board shares or equity tied to businesses I'm in touch with. That's big to big it.
Cash, house, index funds, maybe some private equity shares. Super simple.
It maximizes simplicity, reduces decision fatigue, and promotes that crucial endurance. You're not constantly juggling dozens of things.
You mentioned you stopped trying to pick individual stocks and really focus on index funds now. For someone listening, just refresh us. What exactly is an index fund again?
An index fund is just a single mutual fund or ETF that holds all the stocks within a specific market index, like the S&P 500, which is the 500 largest U.S. companies.
Okay.
So by buying just one share of an S&P 500 index fund, you instantly own a tiny piece of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, all 500 of them. You're not betting on any single company succeeding or failing.
You're betting on the whole U.S. economy, basically,
Yeah.
or global capitalism if it's a global index fund.
Exactly. You own a slice of overall economic growth. It's the ultimate diversification in one easy, usually very low-cost package.
And this pairs perfectly with that execution strategy we talked about, dollar cost averaging, DCA.
Perfectly. DCA is the discipline that makes index fund investing work over decades. It simply means you invest the exact same dollar amount, say $500, into your chosen index fund every single month, automatically.
Regardless of what the market's doing.
Regardless, market booming. Your $500 buys fewer shares, but your existing shares are worth more. Market crashing. Your $500 buys more shares at a discount. You stick to the schedule month in, month out, year after year.
And this removes the emotion, the temptation to try and time the market.
Completely. Trying to time the market, guessing the tops and bottoms is a fool's errand. Statistically, almost no one can do it successfully long term. DCA forces you to buy consistently, which maximizes your time in the market and averages out your purchase price. It enforces endurance.
Okay, index funds and DCA for the core investment engine. Now let's tackle another big asset class people think about. Housing. Real estate. For generations, buying a house was seen as the way to build wealth. But you argue it's more of a lifestyle decision, not primarily an investment. Why?
Look, if the only reason someone is buying a house is for the financial investment return, I genuinely advise them to run away. Fast.
Run away. Strong words. Why?
Because think about what you're doing. You are borrowing a massive amount of money, usually 80%, 90%, sometimes 95% of the asset's value. Huge leverage.
Right. Leverage is good, isn't it? We just talked about leverage.
Leverage can be good. But here, you're applying massive leverage to an asset that is highly illiquid, costs a fortune to transact, agent fees, closing costs, requires constant expensive maintenance and upkeep, repairs, property taxes, insurance.
Right.
And historically, when you adjust for inflation over the long term, like 100, 150 years, home prices have basically been flat. Robert Shiller won a Nobel Prize, partly for showing this. They roughly keep pace with inflation, that's it.
Flat. But wait, my parents' house tripled in value? Everyone knows real estate goes up?
That's recency bias. The last 20, 30 years, especially post-2000, saw an unusual, possibly anomalous boom in house prices in many areas. That created this expectation that houses are guaranteed high-return investments. But the long-term data doesn't really support that view once you account for inflation and all the costs.
Okay, so you're saying the recent boom skewed our perception of typical long-term returns.
Massively. And people forget the costs. Mortgage interest, property tax, insurance, repairs, renovations. These eat up a huge chunk of any appreciation. An index fund has virtually zero carrying costs besides a tiny expense ratio.
So the counter-argument is that buying a house provides forced savings because you have to pay the mortgage and it gives you that leverage. You put 20% down, control 100% of the asset. Those are real benefits, right?
They are benefits, yes. Forced savings is real for people who struggle with discipline. And the leverage can magnify gains if prices rise significantly. But it also magnifies losses if prices fall. And again, you're leveraging an illiquid, high-cost asset. You're locking up a huge amount of capital that could potentially be compounding more efficiently and certainly more liquidly in a diversified portfolio of index funds.
So it's a trade-off. House gives utility, forced discipline, potential leverage gains, but high costs and illiquidity. Index funds offer potentially better net returns, low costs, high liquidity, but require voluntary discipline.
That's a good summary. And one more point. The rental market has changed drastically. In most big cities now, you can rent really high-quality, even luxury apartments. The old idea that you had to buy just to live somewhere nice isn't really true anymore.
Renting offers flexibility, mobility.
Which is crucial, especially early in your career. If a fantastic job opportunity with high leverage comes up in another city, being able to move quickly without selling a house is a huge advantage. Renting enables that mobility. Buying locks you down.
Okay, point taken. Housing is complex, maybe more lifestyle than pure investment. Now, let's pivot to the really new frontier. The one that aims to bypass all these traditional systems. Crypto and blockchain. You hold some positions here, you see a fundamental shift happening. But for many listeners, it's still just magic internet money that goes up and down like crazy. Explain the core idea, the blockchain, simply.
Okay, strip away the hype. At its core, a blockchain is basically just a database. But it's a special kind of database. It's public, everyone can see it, or the relevant parts. It's peer-checked, meaning thousands of computers around the world are constantly verifying transactions. And it's distributed, meaning the database isn't stored in one central place, but copied across that network.
Okay, a public, shared, verified database. What's the point?
The point is creating a shared source of truth that doesn't rely on a middleman, like a bank or a government or a company. Because the network itself constantly checks and agrees on the history of transactions recorded on the ledger, it becomes incredibly hard, practically impossible, to tamper with or fake. So the underlying tech isn't just about money, it's about digital truth, secure ownership, and value exchange without needing a central authority to vouch for it.
And the innovation with things like Bitcoin or Ethereum is adding scarcity and an incentive system on top of that database.
Exactly. The system needs people, or computers, to do the work of verifying transactions and securing the network. These are often called miners or validators. To incentivize them, the protocol rewards them with new units of the network's native asset like Bitcoin or Ether.
Ah, so that's where the coins come from.
Right. And crucially, for many key assets like Bitcoin, there's a built-in, mathematically enforced scarcity. Bitcoin is capped at 21 million units, period. They can't just print more, like governments do with fiat currency. This predictable scarcity is a core part of its potential value proposition as a store of value.
Okay, scarcity. And you mentioned it's globally homogeneous. What does that mean, and why is it important?
It means one Bitcoin in Nigeria is the exact same asset as one Bitcoin in New York or Tokyo. There's no currency conversion needed, no complex international banking, and it's fractional. You don't need $50,000 to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy $10 worth.
Right.
This combination, global, fractional, accessible via just a smartphone, is what starts to level the playing field dramatically. Think about traditional investing. Accessing venture capital deals, IPOs, even basic stock markets in some countries is incredibly difficult or impossible for the average person, especially outside major financial centers.
But anyone with internet can potentially buy a fraction of Bitcoin or Ether.
Pretty much. It bypasses the old gatekeepers, the archaic banking rails that restrict capital flow and opportunity, especially for people in developing nations. It grants potential access to a globally recognized, potentially appreciating asset class that's revolutionary.
Okay, conceptually powerful, but give us a concrete example. Where does this technology actually create new value that wasn't possible before? Maybe gaming.
Gaming is a perfect, easy-to-grasp example. Think about items you earn or buy inside a video game, a rare skin, a powerful sword, a valuable player card in a game like FIFA.
Okay, yeah. People spend real money on those.
They do. But traditionally, that digital sword or card, it only exists inside that specific game servers. You don't truly own it. If the game shuts down or the company bans you, poof, your valuable item disappears. You can't take it anywhere else, can't easily sell it outside the game's ecosystem.
Right, it's trapped.
Blockchain changes that. Developers can issue those in-game items as unique digital tokens, often called NFTs, non-fungible tokens, recorded on a public blockchain like Ethereum or Solana. Now, that sword or card, it's represented by a token that you truly own in your digital wallet, independent of the game company.
So I can trade it, sell it on an open marketplace outside the game.
Exactly. You can trade it, sell it, maybe even use it in other compatible games or virtual worlds in the future. It turns those trapped in-game items into real, ownable, transferable digital assets. This creates entirely new economies, benefits the players who earn or buy the assets, and can create new revenue streams for the game developers. The value of the underlying blockchain, like Ethereum, is partly derived from enabling these new use cases.
Okay, that makes sense. New forms of digital ownership and economies.
Yep.
So practically, if a listener is intrigued, wants to dip their toe in, how do they start investing in crypto?
Start simple. Start small. Use the regulated, user-friendly on-ramps. Major exchanges like Coinbase or Kraken are built for beginners. Even established platforms like PayPal or Robinhood now offer basic crypto buying and selling. The key is just to start somewhere, maybe with a very small amount you can afford to lose, just to learn the process.
And the bigger challenge isn't buying, it's holding.
That's the real mental shift. This asset class is volatile, extremely volatile. It's not unusual to see 30% gains in a month, followed by a 50% drop the next. If you panic sell during those drops, you will lose money. The key, if you believe in the long-term adoption thesis, is learning to hold through that volatility. Dollar-cost averaging can help here too, just like with stocks. Buy a small amount regularly, ignore the noise.
Okay, start small, Use an easy platform, DCA, learn to hold. What about security? We hear horror stories of exchanges getting hacked, people losing everything. That brings us to self-custody, right? The ledger device.
Yes. This is crucial if you start accumulating any significant amount. If you leave your crypto on the exchange where you bought it, you don't technically control the private keys the exchange does. It's an IOU. Not your keys, not your crypto, is the saying.
So you need to take control of the keys yourself.
Exactly. That's where hardware wallets come in. Devices like Ledger or Trezor, they look like little USB drives.
Okay.
These devices store your private keys offline, securely. When you want to send crypto, you connect the device. Transactions are signed on the device itself without exposing the keys to your potentially insecure computer or phone, and then broadcast to the network. It's like a mini digital vault for your keys.
And the ultimate backup is the seed phrase, those 24 words.
That is the absolute core of self-custody. When you set up a hardware wallet, it generates a unique list of 12 or 24 random words. This is your seed phrase or recovery phrase.
What does it do?
Those words, in that exact order, are the master key to all your crypto addresses managed by that wallet. If your Ledger device gets lost, stolen, or destroyed, you can buy a new one, enter those 24 words, and instantly recover access to all your funds.
Wow, so those words are the money, essentially.
They are the keys to the money.
Yeah.
You absolutely must keep that seed phrase safe, write it down physically, never store it digitally where it could be hacked. Keep copies in secure, separate locations, because with those words, anyone can access your funds. But without them, even you can't if you lose your device.
So if I have my seed phrase safely stored, maybe etched on metal plates hidden away, I could literally cross any border with just those words in my head or on paper and retrieve my crypto wealth anywhere in the world with internet access, completely independent of banks or governments.
That is the ultimate promise of self-sovereign money. It's a profound shift in power and control over your own assets. You become your own bank. It requires responsibility, but it offers unparalleled freedom.
Okay, this has been fascinating, exploring the cutting edge. But this entire conversation, from compounding to crypto, kind of assumes the listener actually has money left over at the end of the month to invest. What about the person who is really struggling? Stuck in that awful paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, spending every dollar instantly, just waiting, counting the days till the next deposit. How do they break free and even start thinking about investing?
That's a critical question because you can't invest if you have nothing to invest. So the first step for someone in that situation is an honest, maybe brutal diagnosis.
Okay, what's the diagnosis?
If you have less than, say, $2,000 saved up for a genuine emergency.
Okay, less than $2 K buffer.
Indeed, you are carrying revolving credit card debt month after month, paying that high interest, then you are deep in the financial danger zone.
The danger zone. Okay.
And here's the harsh reality you have to confront if you're in that zone. You are currently the prime customer for the entire economic machine. You are making everyone else rich.
Ouch. What do you mean? Prime customer.
Think about it. The banks, they love you. They're selling you high-interest loans and credit card debt. The corporations, they love you. They're selling you consumer goods, often financed with that debt. The government, they love your earned income because they tax it at the highest rates before you even see it. You're fueling everyone else's wealth accumulation at your own expense.
Wow. Okay. That's a sobering perspective. I'm making everyone else rich before I can even think about making myself rich.
You absolutely have to stop the bleeding first. You're in a sinking boat. Forget about fancy navigation for now. The absolute first priority is to violently seal the holes. Stop the water coming in. This requires immediate, drastic action. Cuts.
Okay, sealing the holes, what does that look like? What kind of surgical cuts are we talking about?
We're talking immediate, potentially total cuts to non-essential spending for a temporary period while you get out of the danger zone.
Like what? Give me examples.
No more eating out at restaurants, period. Pack your lunch. No more unnecessary trips, vacations, concerts. No more buying clothes you don't absolutely need. And critically, no more time-wasting, money-draining subscriptions or habits. That means, yes, probably canceling Netflix, cutting cable, ditching other entertainment subscriptions for a while.
Okay, but canceling Netflix only saves, what, $15, $20 a month? That doesn't seem like it moves the needle much if you're deep in debt.
Ah, but you're missing the real value of cutting Netflix. It's not the $15, it's the time.
The time.
Yes. The average person wastes, conservatively, 2 hours a day or more on TV, streaming, passive digital consumption. If you are in credit card debt, drowning financially, you cannot afford to waste those 2 hours a day. That time is your most valuable asset right now.
So what do I do with those extra 2 hours?
You aggressively reinvest that time. Into what? into learning new skills that can increase your income, into working overtime if possible, into starting a side hustle, delivering food, walking dogs, freelancing online, whatever it takes, into meticulously tracking your budget and finding more leaks, and into generating immediate cash.
Generating cash how?
By selling stuff. Look around your house. Do you really need 3 TVs? Sell 2. Do you have clothes you haven't worn in a year? Sell them online. Is your car payment crippling you? Maybe sell the expensive car. Buy a cheap, reliable beater with cash and eliminate that monthly payment and high insurance. Maybe even consider downsizing your living situation temporarily if the rent or mortgage is crushing you. You need to generate cash flow and attack the debt.
Okay, that's intense. Cut everything non-essential, reclaim wasted time, use that time to earn more, sell assets. It sounds hard, especially the social aspect. For a lot of people, especially maybe younger guys, there's huge pressure. Keeping up appearances, going out, dating, it all costs money. I remember feeling paralyzed by that. If I live in a tiny apartment and drive a wreck, how can I possibly meet anyone or have a social life?
That's the crux of it, isn't it? You absolutely must choose your hard. Life presents you with 2 options. Hard now, with temporary sacrifice and focus. Or hard forever, trapped in debt, anxiety, and limited options. There's no easy path out of the danger zone.
Hard now or hard forever? Pick one.
Exactly. And if building wealth and achieving financial security is genuinely your #1 goal right now, then that temporary sacrifice is mandatory. You cannot serve 2 masters. You can't try to aggressively save and pay off debt while also trying to maintain an expensive social life and buy impressive things. Your resources, time, and money have to be focused like a laser beam on getting out of the hole. You have to focus inward.
Focus inward.
Yeah, on improving yourself, your skills, your income potential, your financial foundation. There's a paradox here that I've seen play out many times.
What's the paradox?
The more intensely you focus inward during that hard now phase, building your business, mastering your craft, getting your finances in order, the more attractive and magnetic you often become later in life. People are drawn to competence, stability, and purpose. The superficial spending you thought you needed, it was never the real draw anyway.
That's a great point. The substance built during the sacrifice phase becomes the real asset later.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you sustain that sacrifice? It feels like it could go on forever.
You have to frame it mentally. Don't think of it as forever. Adopt a long-term mindset by thinking in seasons. Life happens in chapters and seasons.
Thinking in seasons. Okay.
Frame your current difficult period as, say, the 2025 sacrifice season. You know it's temporary. It has a purpose to set up the next season, maybe the 25-30 building season where things get a bit easier, then the 30-40 accumulation season. Breaking it down mentally makes the immediate pain manageable because you see it has an endpoint and it's leading towards a drastically better long-term future.
That reframing is powerful. It makes the sacrifice feel strategic, not just punitive. Now, what about the final psychological hurdle? The deep-seated fear of looking broke. So many people go into debt buying new phones they can't afford, fancy cars, vacations they post on Instagram, probably because they're terrified of appearing poor or unsuccessful to others, and that fear ironically keeps them poor.
Oh, it's a massive trap. The emotional core of the debt cycle for many people. When your day-to-day life feels miserable because you're stressed about money, you crave escape. You seek immediate emotional relief, a dopamine hit, through impulsive spending, buying that big TV, taking that financed vacation, maybe even gambling. It provides a temporary high, a distraction from the underlying financial pain. But of course, it just digs the hole deeper.
And that emotional vulnerability makes you a target.
A prime target. If you're desperate for a quick fix, driven by that emotional need and the fear of looking broke, you become the perfect customer for every get-rich-quicks scheme out there. Someone pitches the laptop lifestyle, promises easy money overnight. And because you're so desperate to escape your current reality instantly, you buy their course, join their program, often going further into debt to do so. It's a vicious cycle fueled by emotion and fear.
So the journey to wealth doesn't start with a hot stock tip or a crypto gamble.
Absolutely not. It fundamentally begins with discipline and mindset. Until you conquer that emotional need for instant gratification, until you overcome the fear of social judgment about temporary frugality, no amount of advice about index funds or QSBS or compound interest is going to stick. You'll just keep sabotaging yourself.
You have to fix the inner game first. Conquer the scarcity mindset, the fear, the emotional spending. Or you'll just keep making everyone else rich while staying stuck yourself.
You have to. Or you'll constantly undermine your own efforts, ensuring you remain that prime customer for the system, working hard but never getting ahead.
Wow. Okay. We have covered an absolutely massive amount of ground today. From the the quiet genius of compounding and endurance.
The unsexy superpower.
Right. All the way to the kind of high-stakes tax games played by the ultra-rich, and the practical steps for crypto, and importantly, how to escape that paycheck-to-paycheck trap. For you, the listener, if we had to boil it down, the two most powerful elements we discussed, the ones completely within your control right now.
It comes down to automation for consistency.
Set it and forget it.
And endurance for long-term growth. Patience.
You don't need to be a financial genius. You don't need to predict the future. You just need radical, almost boring patience and consistency.
And that consistency adds up. Remember that calculate. Even $400, $500 a month invested consistently over 40, 50 years. That's what transforms into potentially millions. That's the real leverage of time working for the average person.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with. A little homework, maybe. Building on what we learned about that hidden owner's advantage, especially around taxes. If having great tax advice is one of the secret keys for the super rich, what's maybe one single piece of tax information, one deduction, one credit, one strategy that you could research and potentially apply today, something related to your current job, maybe your student loans, maybe that little side hustle idea you have? What tiny legal piece of that owner's advantage could you claim right now?
Yeah, that's a great challenge. Don't wait until you have millions. Start looking now.
Go research it. Dig into the tax code as it applies to you. Start lifting that curtain for yourself, even just a tiny bit, immediately.